what I think surprised nobody. The Chicago Bulls lose yet another game last night against the Milwaukee Bucks. They're sixth in a row, and they go into the All-Star break really struggling and limping into that All-Star break. And some people are just looking for the Bulls to be put out of their misery and for us to get to the end of the season. We're going to talk about it all right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And I'm the host here, Haize. You guys follow me right off the top at CEO Haize. But let's talk about these Bulls, man. This has been a draining season, to say the least. The Bulls sit right now at 26-33, 7 games below 500. Keep in mind, before this recent losing streak, the Bulls were 1 game below 500 and seeming like they may be gaining some momentum to finally get over the hump. Oh, how 2 weeks changes things for the Chicago Bulls team. They now go into the All-Star break with a 6-game losing streak. And in this game, we got to see a lot of the younger players. And that's something that I presented over on Locked on Bulls to say, is this the rest of the season, is it more important to evaluate what you have on this team, or is it more important to try to get and fight for wins, or do a mixture of both? And I think the Bulls last night tried to do a mixture of both. Patrick Williams playing 30 minutes last night, 16 points, again, still being set on the fourth quarter, though. He goes 6 of 10 from the field. He tips in 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. And he did some pretty solid things defensively, albeit without Giannis Antetokounmpo being in most of that game. I think he went down, I believe it was the first quarter, and he never returned in that game, and we'll see what goes on with him. Praise up to him. Hopefully he's not a serious injury, because we know that team has championship aspirations. Nikola Vucevic with 22 points as well, 22 and 16, being the most consistent Bull yet again. And then we have Zach LaVine going 5 of 16 with 18 points. Kobe White in his start, 4 of 14, only 8 points. I had just been calling for Kobe White to start. Didn't look too good in that. But the story of this game and what's going to be coming out of this, and most Bulls fans are going to use this as a glimmer of hope, right? Not necessarily for the season, but for the future of the Chicago Bulls in many ways. And that is one Dalen Terry. Let's forget to turn on my, come on now. It's not the same if the lights ain't on. But Dalen Terry, 27 minutes, 6 for 12 from the field. He chips in 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 13 points from Dalen Terry. And he got to flash every bit of that all-around game that is going to make him a dangerous player potentially at the NBA level. And it's not always going to be the scoring. He's not always going to get double-digit scoring. But his ability to pass, his ability to fight after balls, the defense that he played, Dalen Terry is, it looks like he's going to be every bit of that potential that we saw in him, or that AK saw in him. And he definitely has that dog in him. He has just a different energy about him. I will say this. In the last 3 games of Dalen Terry playing meaningful minutes, he's shown more dog in him than we've ever seen from Patrick Williams. And that's not a slight on Patrick. Well, I guess it is in a way if we're being realistic, but that's not to say that I think Dalen Terry is going to be the better player than Patrick Williams, because we've seen the potential of Patrick if he puts it together. But I'm just saying, like, Dalen has it. And when you look at a player, especially one that comes in and doesn't have that superstar ceiling that some draft picks have, that he really just came in largely unknown, but still raw and with some potential, the way in which he fights, the way in which he goes about his business, the way that he just gives effort all the time, he is going to turn into a heck of a pest for the Chicago Bulls. And the way that I see it right now, Dalen Terry is going to be one of those players that I think every team loves to have, but some people kind of take for granted. And right now, no, we're not taking Dalen Terry for granted. We haven't got very much of him throughout the season, so you wouldn't take him for granted quite yet. But he just has that game, and the shot just looks so improved. If you look at him in college to last year to now, his shot has been so improved, and that's just with one NBA offseason and 3/4 of the way through an actual NBA season. Imagine now having a full summer of working on things specific with the trainer. If he hires the right trainer, goes to a dribbling coach, and that's not to say his dribble's bad, but Dalen Terry has that raw potential that we love to see, and he has kind of that play style and mentality that we enjoy here in Chicago as far as to see our Bulls players play with. And as we go towards the end of the season, especially with a lot of injuries that we have, we still haven't gotten an update on Javonte Green. Derrick Jones Jr. is him and Alex Caruso are kind of always banged up in one way or another. And it saddens me that after the game, when Billy Donovan was asked about Dalen Terry and his play, and kind of asking like, does he see Dalen Terry keep getting minutes? And Billy Donovan basically saying, well, when everybody's back, somebody's not going to get minutes. To allude to like that's the biggest problem that I have had with Billy Donovan. And you guys know I've been very consistent with it. Is you were touted as somebody who's going to come in and help with the development of this team. And it does not seem like that is. Listen, this season, while not, it's lost per the goals that we came into the season with. Can the Bulls still make the play-in? Absolutely. Could they go on a run after the All-Star break? It doesn't look likely, but there is a chance of it. But at the end of the day, this team has missed energy. It's missed edge. It has missed that dog. It has missed somebody who can take it into a second gear, who just doesn't get down on themselves. We need to be playing Dalen Terry. And I'm not saying necessarily he has to play 27 minutes every game at this point. Well, he should, especially while people are injured. But I do think that how can you see the play of Dalen Terry and not look at him and say, listen, I want to find a way to get you into the rotation. We're going to try to find you 8 to 10 to 12 minutes a game every single night. How, as a head coach, that you knew coming into the season, development was a big part of this season and what you need to do if you want this team to increase and ever improve, and you just don't do it. And that just, it encapsulates the issues that I have with Billy Donovan being the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. And especially now that we know Ime Udoka is just out there, and I know Bulls fans are going to be clamoring for Ime. And if you know this franchise, we know it's not happening. They're not firing a coach that they just gave an extension to. There are some teams that would do that, but unfortunately the Chicago Bulls aren't one of them. And is every problem on this team coaching? No. I'm not blaming everything on Billy Donovan and coaching, because there's a lot of things and blame to go around with this team. But for you to say that somebody's going to have to fall out of the rotation and allude to the one player you got that's been showing that dog in them just the last 3 games, look at the improvement Dalen Terry has made since that first game he checked in 3 games ago, which I think he ended up playing like 8 minutes in, to this game and playing 27 minutes. You see improvements in just his decision-making, him being more comfortable as a passer, him understanding where and how to use his body defensively, even though Drew Holiday gave him the business a couple of times. But you just see all that raw, untapped potential in Dalen Terry, and it comes in a way that the Chicago Bulls need for this season. And as the head coach, you don't think to empower your younger players? That is it's almost the same thing we saw from Jim Boylan to a much lesser extent. But look at Larry. Listen to some of the interviews that Larry Marketing has had this season. He's talked about how that time period of playing with the Bulls and under Jim Boylan killed his confidence. It killed his love of playing basketball. And while, no, we're not there yet with Dalen Terry, and I'm not saying that. But it goes to show how much difference coaching makes versus a coach that empowers his younger players versus a coach that just expects his younger players to suffer through it and figure it out and somehow magically crack the rotation. You need to develop with intent. And that's the thing that we've been lacking from the Chicago Bulls team, is the development with intent. Even Patrick Williams, right? Yes, he has a propensity to go out there and hang around the perimeter and the three-point line. I do think some of that is scheme, but some of that is him. He doesn't crash the boards the way that a power forward should. We know all of these things. But when you would actually have run plays for him, especially in a pick and roll, a 4-5 pick and roll, or whatever else you need to do, he's performed. And when you get him engaged offensively, he plays better defensively, and he's a little bit more aggressive in those games. And for a coach being paid millions of dollars to not recognize that and empower players in that situation, I would assume, yes, Io's having a struggle of a season, but we all knew that Io was better in transition, playing downhill, things like that. He's not put in those situations. Now, some of that, again, is on the player, but some of that also has to lay at the feet of your head coach that is supposed to be guiding and leading, especially the younger players. The veterans, listen, the veterans been around, but coaching still matters. Coaching matters. And I think sometimes as fans, and I've said this before, we don't understand and we forget how much coaching does matter, especially when you have a plan in place to empower and develop your players to build their skills, build their confidence. That can go a long way. And so to hear that from Billy Donovan after the game that Dalen Terry heard, I couldn't imagine being Dalen in hearing that, right? Like, imagine being Dalen Terry. You just played 27 minutes, right? You scored the most points you have at the NBA level yet. You set some tones defensively at times. You played with energy. You did every single thing that a good coach will look at you and say, this is what I needed you to do tonight. Yes, it came in a loss, but you see Billy Donovan to then say that on a press conference, well, somebody got to lose their minutes. Somebody's going to fall out of the rotation. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Like, we have to be better about this, and it's going to be a long stretch. And this is why I keep saying the Chicago Bulls and the Bulls fans that say it's time to go full rebuild, a full rebuild doesn't have much of a better outlook if you don't have a head coach that is going to empower and develop the younger players. Again, don't think that a full rebuild's coming, but, that's just my thought on that. Now, after the game, Zach LaVine was asked about the Bulls being 26-33, and he says this: your record is what it is. I think for us, we've shown we can beat anyone. Also, we're able to lose to everybody too. I'm glad that he did say that. You take it for what it is, let it hurt, let it sting. You can't just keep avoiding it and thinking you're something you're not. That is probably the most introspective and aware comment I've ever heard Zach LaVine make. That's deep. And the fact that that's where his mindset is now, when we look at the body language of this team, when we say that this team looks like they're giving up on themselves and the season, that statement kind of brings all that home. But he did say this as well. We're not throwing in the towel. I don't think we have that type of team or personnel to do that. Obviously, losing hurts. Everybody, they're all frustrated, but we're coming in, doing our jobs every day. We're the ones who are going to have to figure it out. Now, Zach, I hate to say this, and I'm not blaming everything on you like some Bulls fans, but you haven't been doing your job, bro. Like Zach LaVine, you have not been doing your job. You said, forget my expectations, forget Bulls fans' expectations. Zach LaVine, you sat there and said, after your max level contract, that it makes you want to step your game up. It makes you realize that you need to take it up to a different level. And to Zach's credit, the last few games, he's had a 30-point game, 40-point game. Like, he's been scoring, right? And he has stepped up defensively some. But in this game, you had 18 points. And some of that is on Billy Donovan sitting you down for too long when we clearly needed you in on a run. But as a whole entire team, we need this team to step up. And then Billy Donovan says, I still got a lot of belief in this group. Now, the reason why that comment pisses me off personally is that you have a lot of belief, but you don't use the players that you quote unquote believe in the proper ways. How many times did you go to Vooch in the fourth quarter over the course of the season, but you believe in him, right? You have said Zach LaVine is one of the best catch and shoot players in the NBA. Billy Donovan said that again. I'm purposely using the things that these players and coaches have said versus my thoughts, versus Bulls fans' thoughts, specifically to say that they are not holding themselves up to their own standard. Billy Donovan said that Zach LaVine is one of the best catch and shoot players in the NBA. But why are you then running all the offense through him now and you're not empowering your point guard? Or even a guard in Kobe White who's shown growth in those areas. You weren't running Zach LaVine off pick and pops or catch and shoot, right? These are the type of things that when we talk about coaching, for the Bulls content creators that often talk about head coach Billy Donovan, it's not just to bash on him. It's not just to blame everything on him, but that is because when you realize and take a step back and you really take a look at how coaching affects the game, it hurts, man. Like I'll say this, right? To kind of bring home how important coaching is. You had a team full of stars in James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and KD. That team was coached by a terrible coach in Steve Nash. Yes, James Harden was gone by that point. We were looking at Ben Simmons, Kyrie, and KD this season. But when Steve Nash was fired and Jacques Vaughn came in, that team looked better defensively. They looked better engaged. They were used better in situations. And Jacques Vaughn is a marginally good head coach in the NBA. Good coaching and a coaching with a plan makes a difference on teams, no matter the level of stars that you have on this team. Let's not even take into consideration that we don't have a true superstar on this team. That's why coaching is even more important in situations like that. So when we look at this Bulls team going into the All-Star break, what is left? And the question what I have for you guys is simply just put this. This team doesn't have much to fight for. Because when you look at it, yes, they can build confidence. Hopefully over the All-Star break, they look at some things. If they were to go on a huge winning streak to end this season, I think we have 23 games left. Let's say we win 18 out of those 23 games. That's losing only 5 of them, if I'm right, and we have 23 games left. If that's the case, and the Bulls win that 18 out of 23, they're making the play-in at that point. But the fact of the matter is, you still have some serious things that you have to deal with on this team. This is why I've been saying for like the last week, no matter what how this season ends, The Chicago Bulls heads have to roll. Things have to be done. And you can disagree on if it needs to be Zach or needs to be DeMar going. At this point, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not here to be right about which player needs to go. I'm not here to be right about which player is better to build a team around. I'm here to see my team win. That's it. Whatever you do, if it results in a better team on the floor and more wins and playoff victories and winning playoff series and growing and developing into that team that can eventually be a contender, that's what it means. That's what you need to do. Forget Bulls fans and mind content creators' desire to have one player over another, the love of Vooch, dislike of Vooch. All that doesn't matter at this point. This team and the product that we have on the court leaves much to be desired. The coaching staff that we have and the way that they have lacked to develop players leave much to be desired. The young players who have not developed either, not taken ownership over their own development, leaves much to be desired. Going into the All-Star break, we sit at a place where we were the opposite of last season. We went into the All-Star break last season with some confidence. Now, it shot us in the foot because we came out of that All-Star break winning only, 7 games after the All-Star break. But we still had a little bit of hope. This Chicago Bulls nation, the fandom, they're depleted. They're tired. It's over. Some of you guys have been saying the season is over since 20 games into the season. And I was telling you guys, no, realistically, it's not. It's this. This point, it is basically over. Because like I said, regardless of what the Bulls do, if they limp into the play-in, if God forbid they go on a huge streak and actually avoid the play-in and make the playoffs outright, that does not change the work that needs to be done this offseason. And even if it takes Russell Westbrook, John Wall to come in here and put this team on the right track to just make the play-in, that is a huge statement to where the state of your franchise and where this team is currently. And we need to see improvements in several key areas, a better balanced roster, better coaching. Billy Donovan can't have another season of coaching like this. And the sad part is you gave him an extension, so we know he's going to be here for a while. But the thing is it time? A lot of you guys have been saying, blow it all up, go full rebuild, tank, do all this. And I keep telling you guys, this season is not the season to do. We don't own our own first-round pick outright. Honestly, with the way the Bulls are playing right now, even if they luck into the lottery, they might as well roll their dice at that point and see where it lands them. But if this team comes out flat again next season, I will say this, that is the time to blow up this team because of the reasons that I've told you guys before. The Bulls are set to possibly have $40 million in cap space in the 2014 free agency. On top of that, next year's draft is expected to be the draft where we allow high school players to come in again. And if that's true, that's going to be a double draft, meaning that you have a better chance, you have a double the chance of getting a really good talent in that draft. And then, hell, what does Portland do? Does that Portland pick, if it doesn't convey this season, does it convey next season? Because I tell you what, a outside the lottery pick next season is way more valuable than this upcoming draft. Because again, the double draft, the high school and the college players in that draft, you can technically walk away. If the Bulls do suck and decide to blow it up, you can walk away with your own lottery pick and an outside the lottery Portland pick that at that point, because of the depth of that draft, you are basically walking away with 2 lottery level talents to start your rebuild. That's the season. I know it sucks for Bulls fans. I know it would suck to wait. And if we have to suffer through another season like this. But again, I try to be more realistic here. I try to sit back and really evaluate the scene for everything that what it is and not try to be as knee-jerky. But no matter what the Bulls do this offseason, changes are needed. And a change, if it doesn't come, you better be ready for the fury that comes from Chicago Bulls fans going into next season if you try to sell us on continuity again, AK. But that is it for me for today. Make sure you follow the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.